Hi, Jack Canfield here. Welcome back to another segment of Talking About Success. I'm really thrilled about my next guest, Nicole Black. I'm thrilled because she lives near me in Carpinteria. We live in Santa Barbara together. She spent over 30 years struggling with food addiction, depression, anxiety, and fat shaming. And today she's an advocate, author, and a motivational speaker, sharing her story and empowering women with the tools to finally heal from the inside out. Has a new book called Fat Shame. Healing, a little bit, loving yourself from the inside out is the subtitle, and I'm thrilled to have you here because I think your whole approach to this is so unique and so needed right now. So I'm gonna read this first question because it's a long one. I want to get it right because I think it's important to set this up. It says, food was your way of coping with a lot of complex and painful issues in your life, or what you refer to in your book as triggers. And I wanted to ask you, what was the moment of self-realization that things had to change, that you needed to heal?
Interestingly enough, I was in France and I was on vacation, and I was at, they have it's called Gamver. It's kind of like a Home Depot. Mm-hmm. And there was a hammock, and I thought, oh, I'll just sit in this hammock. And it collapsed, and I fell on the floor. And I started laughing because it actually was really funny. But then I noticed that people had their cameras out, and they were videoing it and taking pictures, and they were laughing at me. And I went home to my mother-in-law's house, and I said, that's it, I can't do this anymore. And I'm going to get the gastric sleeve surgery. I knew that I had to make a dramatic change because I kept going back and forth and back and forth. But it's funny because the surgery didn't fix anything. So I lost the weight, but that's when I realized that the real healing had to come from within.
So let's talk about that. Yeah. Exactly what do you mean by that? The healing has to come from within.
Well, I had to go back and face, why did I keep going up and down? I do not like roller coasters, so I'm not sure why I was trying to do one with my weight. Mm. But I had to go back and really examine, why am I doing this to myself? And it was always little things that would trigger me, and then I would find myself eating alone at night. So people would say to me, I never see you eat. And I'm thinking, well, of course you don't. I'm not eating in front of you. I'm eating when I'm alone, because that was the way that I comforted myself.
Now you talk about something called whole beauty in
Yes.
your book. Talk about that for a moment.
So whole beauty is kind of my concept of mind, spirit, body in that order. I think a lot of people put body before spirit, but I think in reality, our spirit comes before our body. Our mind leads us, and then our spirit shows us, who we're supposed to be and how we want to interface with the world. And then the body, it's just the physical vessel that we show the world.
Now you, in your book, you have so much wisdom, and your personal stories there, the things you had to confront, the things other people have to confront with all these issues around eating, around your own self-criticism, your own shame of yourself, people shaming you. Talk a little bit about this issue of fat shaming.
Absolutely. It's such a necessary topic, and I think that people are uncomfortable when around overweight people, and I know I'm not overweight now, so people are not uncomfortable around me, and usually the reaction I get is, really, you were overweight? And I'll take out a picture, and I get one of two reactions. That doesn't look like you. Are you sure that's you? I'm pretty sure I know myself. And the other reaction I get is, oh, you weren't that heavy. And I always think to myself, maybe to you I wasn't that heavy, but on the inside I was dying. I didn't like myself. I didn't want to be around myself. I didn't even want to be in my own skin anymore. And every time somebody would shame me, I would think, why am I here? It led to, a lot of suicidal feelings and just not wanting to be around. And so I'd always have to find little things to bring me back and make me want to stay.
How would people shame you?
Well, for instance, when I first moved to Santa Barbara, I owned a restaurant, and women would walk in and they would look me up and down, and I was heavy, and they would say, there's no way you're the wife. And I would kind of stand back aghast. No, I am absolutely the wife. I had my wedding ring on, and it was so interesting to me because years later when I was thin, I bumped into some of those women, and I was thin, and they looked at me and and, oh, you look sort of familiar. And I said, yes, you know me. I used to own this restaurant. And they would all look at me and say, there's no way that was you. And I think that part of that's attributed to the fact that somewhere along that path, I lost my spirit. And when I got it back and got my confidence back, my whole internal looks changed, and that carried through to the outside.
Give us a little insight into how you got your confidence back.
That was probably the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And it was literally looking at myself in the mirror every day and saying, I love you. You are a worthwhile, beautiful human being. You are the best person I know. You're the only person I am guaranteed to get to the end of this life with. And I appreciate you and I respect you. And I said it even when I didn't believe it. And I wrote it out and I taped it on my mirror because I needed to see that every day, that I am a worthwhile person. It really doesn't matter what a person weighs, but your confidence level does matter. And I wasn't confident heavy, but that's not to say that heavy people aren't confident. I wasn't, and that was my story.
So this idea of looking yourself in the mirror and affirming your love for yourself, over time it became real for you.
Well, when you hear something again and again and again, you start to believe it. Yeah. So in my 20s, I had a boyfriend who told me that I was fat, ugly, and stupid, and I carried that all the way into my 40s. And I'm not fat, I'm not ugly, and I'm not stupid. And so kind of trying to like take those words and give them less power and think, you know, that's somebody else's opinion of me, and they're absolutely allowed their opinion. I don't have to believe it. It's the reaffirmation, I think, that really kind of triggered my confidence to go, oh, I'm a worthwhile person. And that's what really led to the real change, was gaining that confidence back and faking it when I didn't believe in myself.
Now, if there was another woman sitting here who was, let's call it overweight, who had no confidence, who felt shame in herself, her own inner critic, as well as was getting fat shame from the external world, what would you say to her?
I would probably say that I loved her and that she's beautiful. And then I would just talk to her and listen to her story and see if I could pick up where in her life, you know, things had gone wrong. Because a lot of times some of these things are triggered by old traumas, abuse from parents, verbal, mental, physical abuse from other people, strangers, friends, neighbors. And we don't realize like how often those kind of things shape us and that we hold on to them. You know, everything lands somewhere, right, on our bodies. And once you're able to figure out where it landed, you can take a nice long nap and just learn how to let it go and just recognize it for what it is. It's just something that happened. It doesn't define you. My other mantra is, I define my beauty. And I would encourage that woman to find a mantra that resonated with her. And if she didn't have one yet, you know, borrow mine. And I really feel that's important for women and men. You know, we define ourselves.
So I know you've got this book. Anything else in the works that we can look forward to in the future?
Absolutely. I am in the process of trying to set up seminars to teach women how to love themselves from the inside out.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm also a yoga teacher, so I'm sure I'll work some yoga component into a retreat workshop. But really more like a writing experiential and helping women to get in touch with their inner child and make peace with, you know, the past. So important, making peace with the past. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So if people want to get a hold of you, where do they go? My website is www.NicoleBlack.com, NicoleBlack. NicoleBlack.com. Absolutely. Very simple. Okay. Well, thank you for being my guest today. Thank you. I think you have a great story and it's a great model. It lets us all know it's possible. Your book has a lot of powerful insights in it. So thank you for writing it. And for all of you watching out there, NicoleBlack.com. Get her book and take your life to the next level. No, I always like to say suffering is optional, and if you're suffering from fat shame or anything else, doesn't have to be that way. So stick around. We'll be right back after this break.